Score Atlanta Television Studios in North Atlanta. This is Georgia High School Sports Daily, AEW Local 613.
All right, I want to welcome everyone to Friday's edition of the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. Big football night tonight, of course. We will be showing probably the top, not only game, Craig Sager with me, not only the top game in Georgia, but maybe the top game in the nation, Craig.
For sure, and I have it right here, the computer projections. They've got Buford -1, so just a 1-point favorite. So despite,
that's a toss-up.
Exactly. Despite all the recruits, everything going into it, the fact they haven't played recently, it's going to be a very good game.
Well, and we will talk to Rusty Mansell of On 3, and of course he does a great job with the website on Georgia in the recruiting. But we'll talk to him about the game, and we'll also get into some of the recruiting going around the state. Remember, you can pick us up on the Peachtree Sports Network. That's available on Comcast, Spectrum, YouTube television. It's also an over-the-air channel, 17.2. But you can also get us on Zeem, which is a CBS streaming portal, as well as the National Federation High School Network. And I'll tell you, the big place to get us right now is on the Atlanta News First app. We have all our games on Friday night. Anything that we do on TV is going to be with Atlanta News First, which was formerly CBS 46. So you can check that app out anytime. We're sending a lot of information to the station, and it's a great place to watch the show every Monday through Friday from 12 to 1. All right, we always start off every show with the fast break headlines. A couple, I have to throw this one, Craig, out there. Lakeside, my old high school. Crazy Thursday night game last night, 51-50. Lakeside DeKalb goes to 2-2. They beat Arabia Mountain. 101 points scored in that game. That had to take a few minutes.
And they got the game in before the weather. And what a better way to celebrate a Thursday night watching a game like that.
And I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but hopefully the weather tonight will be okay. All right, headline number one, South Gwinnett football coach Brian Lamar reaches 100-win milestone. By the way, I was on the phone with him last night. He is going to bring his team to the High School Football Hall of Fame in late October. That's on the weekend that Georgia is off. But Brian's going to bring South Gwinnett. That's not the news, but he's going to bring South Gwinnett because David Green's going.
That's right.
So they're going to go support him. But he earned his 100th win during the rivalry win over Brookwood on August 31st. The victory over Brookwood was the Comets' first in Snellville rivalry since 2019. He said, we're fortunate to have a well-respected and dedicated coach like Brian Lamar, South Athletic Director. Jeff Taylor said his hard work and commitment are evident, and it's great to see him achieving such positive results. Lamar was hired as South's coach in 2021 after leading the program at Tucker, his alma mater, from 2012 to 2020. He's now 17-17 at South after posting an 83-29 record at Tucker. South Gwinnett hosts Valdosta tonight, and so that should be an interesting. And Brian's a great guy, and I certainly wish him the best. I think he will turn South into a real win. Want to bring on Najeh Wilkins. Najeh, of course, is with us. He's with us today on Zoom. He'll be covering a lot of high school football. He's got the next two headlines. So, Najeh, there you go.
Yes, sir. And number two is Jakira Butler of Hebron Christian. She made her commitment this past weekend. She committed to the this past week, I should say, to the Auburn Tigers, 6'1" forward. She averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2.6 blocks, and 2 steals this past season for the Lions in their quest for a 3A state championship. They also won the Throne National Tournament, and she was a Georgia Basketball Coaches Association and Georgia Athletic Coaches Association All-State selection, as well as an All-Metro pick by the Tip-Off Club of Atlanta. So a really great season for her, and she's been doing her thing and plays under illustrious coach Janet Assar, who's won a lot of a lot of state titles here in the Peach State. And then at number three, we have one of the big ones. I got to see breaking news on this one yesterday. Zealous Hicks of Carrollton, the 4-star safety, committed to the Texas Longhorns. they get a star. If you guys don't know who that is, he played in our Corn Kill Dave Hunter Classic last year and won Defensive Player of the Game when he was a member of the Parkview Panthers. Absolutely incredible player. But now he is with Carrollton. He's rated as the number 24 player nationally, number 2 safety, and number 3 player in the state of Georgia, according to On3. Really quick, via On3, Steve Sarkisian basically told him that he really likes me, really likes my character as a person, and he likes that I've got a good family foundation. Those are the main things he was pressing me on. Last year, he had 67 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 PBUs, and 2 forced fumbles.
And remember, thank you, Najee, but remember, if you want to make your commitment here live on television, let's do it. I mean, bring your parents, bring your grandparents, bring your sister, your brother, but you can do your commitments live here on the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Just get in touch with us. We'll be sending out a lot of information on that. Craig, next headline.
All right, headline number 4, Ringgold and North Cobb Christian, they have moved their game up to 5:30. So we were talking about watching our game tonight. It kicks off at 8. So if you're a North Cobb Christian fan in Ringgold, as soon as your game's over, go to the Atlanta News First app. You can watch our game. But it's a big matchup. North Cobb Christian's undefeated. They won their first ever region title last year. They were a really young team. And this is a big matchup. Ringgold's coming off that tough loss to Rockmart. All right, number 5. So last night I was interested in this matchup. Swainsboro and Thompson, both of them opened the season in the top 10 but had fallen out of it recently. Swainsboro struggling. They replaced a ton of talent from their teams that made it to back-to-back finals, but Thompson was unbelievable. 56-7 win. That's the biggest win in the 32-game history of that series. I'm going to do my daily dive on it. And real quick, Jarris Sinkfield, a junior for Thompson last night, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 receiving touchdown, a pick, 6, and a punt return touchdown.
And Craig, your daily dive, man. I mean, everybody's doing them at Score Atlanta. You can go to scoreatl.com and grab the daily dive. Najee, Max, Hayden, they all do a fabulous, Craig, do a great job with it. All right, last headline. This should be a good one. I think this should be an interesting game. Duluth 2-1 goes to Norcross 2-1 for the Region 7 6A opener. We talked to Coach Maloof from Norcross, Keith, earlier this week. He expects a tough game. Duluth has not. They've got a 16-game losing streak to Norcross on Friday. Norcross won 41-14 last year. This thing's been around forever. In fact, these two schools met for the first time in 1929. The Norcross was known as West Gwinnett. But it's basically been a one-sided series for really the last 2 decades. Norcross has defeated Duluth 16 straight times dating back to 2003. The Wildcat win orchestrated by former coach Bill Shields. Since 1997, Duluth has gone 2-19 against Norcross.
Yeah.
You know, Craig, what do you think? I mean, does Duluth have a chance?
Well, Norcross is going to be heavily favored, but Duluth's a team that's going to make the playoffs most likely, and it's a big region opener, so they're going to want to play tough, play well. It's their bitter rival, but I think Duluth is a team that is going to go out there and be able to put it together for 4 quarters.
All right, let's take a look at what was in this morning's Georgia High School football daily. Basically, they have the yardage leaderboard for rushing, passing, and receiving. The leading rusher right now, Chattooga's Zayden Cook, is the state's. He has the most yards. He rushed for 338 yards last week in a 45-20 victory over Mount Zion of Carroll County. Cook has rushed for 849 yards this season and 11 touchdowns. Behind him, and a pretty good ways behind him, at 671 is Elijah Hayes. Wes Hall, he's the 3A leader. Then you've got Daniel Smith, who's having a great season at Mill Creek. He's the 6A leader. 643, Tasheen Wiggins from Commerce. And then the A Division II leader is Darian Roberts from Atkinson County. He's got 635 yards. All right, more from the daily. Leading the state right now in passing. And we'll have to talk to Rusty about this. Ben Brown from Wesleyan, he, of course, is the leader in the state. He also leads his division, which is the A1 division, with 1,242 yards. Only, 14 yards behind him is Antoine Hill from Houston County, 5A leader. Craig, we've seen Antoine Hill Jr. play. We'll ask Rusty about him. One of the most dynamic players in the state.
For sure. It's a tough loss to Warner Robins, but he still has not thrown an interception. He's making great decisions, and he has a chance of really heating up. So definitely he's in that conversation for the watch list as well.
All right, and then let's go to receiving. 644 yards leads the way. That's Cody Bryan from Heritage Ringgold. He's also the 3A leader. And then only 6 yards behind him, John Stutzer from Pope, 5A leader. And then it goes down from there. 619, Kenyon Standiford from Athens Academy. All right, our feature this week for the Hall of Fame in the newsletter this morning was Lynn Haas. Haas was really a 5-time Pro Bowl pick with the Washington Redskins. He went to Wayne County. And it's really cool reading about these old guys. I mean, it's just a tremendous player. He actually played at Georgia, was basically under Wally Butts as far as a position. He moved all over the field. He was switched from fullback to center. But make sure you check out the Daily every morning because that has all of our inductees in there for the new class, and there are 30 of them. All right. Trivia question from Thursday. The fastest growing nickname in the GHSA is shared by BT, Discovery, Drew, Lake Oconee, North Oconee, Northview Towers, and Turner County. Of course, that is the Titans. The new trivia question on the Daily is Carrollton plays Gainesville tonight in a game between two of the top 7 Georgia programs in all-time victories. Okay, so Carrollton, Gainesville, they're part of that top 7. What are the other 5 schools in the top 7? I know you can name one.
Valdosta and LaGrange. That's 4.
Okay.
Man.
I'm not going to tell you. They're big names though, and we will have. Craig will be hosting a show on Monday, so he'll have the other 3. But he is correct on Valdosta and LaGrange. All right, excited coming up. Rusty Mansell. He's our big partner recruiting, and look forward to hearing from him.
This makes my dad think he went through his whole career as a something he did or achieve. The advantages of being a signatory contract is your training employees. You have unlimited benefit. Allows me to bid on jobs that really would not.
You know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was freaking out. Like that. I'm supposed to fight this stuff. Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
That's one. That's 2.
All right, we're back here Friday on Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. Craig Saker with us, as well as Rusty Mansell. Rusty, what do you?
Oh man,
you like the studio?
I mean, y'all big time it over here. This is like Alpharetta Sports Center right here. I love this setup. It's very nice.
It's good. We're real happy. Roddy White and a couple of others spent about 3 or 4 months on this. This used to be our old office, but we're real excited about it. Of course, Rusty on 3. He has Dogs HQ. Before we get into tonight's game, Rusty, tell us a little bit about how that works for you with Dogs HQ and sort of what you do on a daily basis.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a co-owner of that site, and that's something that was kind of the big sell for me to come over from where I was to go back with Shannon Terry, with the former Shannon Terry started Rivals. He started 24/7, then he started On 3. It's a guy that's been very influential in my career, and he gave me opportunity to own a site, and Dogs HQ was a perfect fit for me. So my primary responsibility every day is to make sure my sites ran well. We cover the University of Georgia throughout. I got guys specifically, team guys, recruiting guys. I'm the co-owner, publisher. Jake Rowe obviously is a guy that is a partial owner with me. So, people ask me all the time, what's your role? Well, that's my primary role. But high school football means so much to me, so I'm never going to give up that platform I have. And, just covering everybody in the state of Georgia. So, there's really not, if people ask me all the time, well, who's the guy that covers this guy in Texas? Who's the guy that covers this guy in South Carolina? Really, there's not a guy. You know what I mean? So in the state of Georgia, my only job duty is to cover University of Georgia recruiting. But I choose to do other things as well with that. And it's just, I think I've been blessed with a big platform, and I want to use that to help other kids. In fact, you mentioned the Georgia High School Football Daily. Todd Holcomb called me last night. He said, give me 2 players that were underrated. And one got his first offer this week, another one's still waiting on his first offer. So that's part of the fun for me. I mean, high school football, I'm a product of Georgia high school football. I wasn't a college prospect.
State champion.
Nobody had funner in high school football than me, period. You know what I mean? So I felt like that fueled me for where I am today.
Talk a little bit about how Georgia sort of separated itself. Maybe Alabama, maybe Ohio State, but it's amazing what Kirby has done up there recruiting.
The best thing for Georgia right now, I think, is they have that, hey, if you come here, you don't have to start as a freshman. You don't have to start as a sophomore. You look at Carson Beck. I mean, Carson Beck sit there for 3 years. In today's world, that's hard to do for a guy, but, he potentially could be the number 1 draft pick. Some of these guys, Amarius Mims was a first-round draft pick. Najeh, he started 7 games at Georgia. So really the sell for Georgia is you come here and you be a part of the practice, be a part of the culture. We're going to develop you, and if you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to have a great shot. Because rightfully so, all these kids want to go to the NFL, and you should want to go to the NFL. And that's training. You also can get a great degree at these schools, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. All these schools now have all the academic support around you. But if you want to come play in a big-time environment, that's really what Georgia has done. And I talked to a lot of people around Kirby Smart, and they're like, dude, he never takes a day off. Like the coaches, you better know what's going on at all times and those types of things. So not perfect, but I talked to a couple of players the other night, and they're like, man, this guy never takes a day off.
And one last thing before we get to the game tonight, your relationship with Kirby.
I've known him a while. Yeah, I've known those guys since college, basically, and don't get a chance to be around them as much as I used to. But play some golf in the spring with a lot of guys. Sam Pittman. I've met a lot of coaches over the last 20, 25 years. All those guys. So it's weird to kind of see those guys in a setting and then see them in those settings. But it's been fun to watch these guys rise to these ranks. Shane Beamer, I've known Shane Beamer a long, long time, and big win last week, obviously, for him. So these guys, they're humans, but they carry a big title when you start talking about your head coach in SEC school.
I've got a question real quick. What's that turnaround like? Friday night covering the high school, and then you got to wake up and get ready for college.
It's not. It's not real easy. The Georgia Clemson game was pretty tight for me. Daughter Kaylee, works for us, and then Dog Nation as well.
Well, Kaylee, and Brandon.
They have to turn. They're going to do it. Those two are going to go straight to Kentucky tomorrow. I'll pay people to go to Kentucky. I'm gonna safe travels to BA and Kaylee, but I'm gonna be sitting at the house watching that. So the turnover there is I kind of know what to do now, and I have to be dialed in. About Thursday, I start dialing in my high school stuff, and I spent some time last night going over notes for most of the games, and then get dialed in for Saturdays.
Let's talk about the game tonight. It's a big one. Buford at Douglas County. Craig mentioned it's really a toss-up type of game.
Yeah. You look at this, and Todd Holcomb from Georgia High School Football Daily, he asked me a great question. He says, "This is the most D1 prospects you've ever seen in a game." And on paper, I don't know exactly the amount of prospects, but this one, in my 15 years of doing this would stack up on paper this would stack up with anyone. We got kids that doesn't even, Craig knows, we got kids not starting tonight that have 10, 12 offers. It's that type of game. It's a grown man game. There's no height needed. I kind of relate it to the Lee County Buford State Championship game a couple years ago when it got down to overtime. I fully expect this to be a 4-quarter game that could come down to the final minutes.
All right, let's talk about this list, and I'm going to sort of pop it up there.
It's long.
It's a long one.
It's
got
2
a lot of
pages.
info.
It's 2 pages.
All right, let's start off with Buford because
Yeah.
they've got a lot of prospects.
Yeah, you look at Jaden Perlate's kid I think people are most familiar with. He's committed to Southern Cal, was committed for Georgia at one point. Justin Baker committed to Tennessee. Todd asked me, he said, Rusty, who's kind of the guy? He didn't have to be the most highly rated player, but who's that guy when you watch tape it kind of goes? And I give him Mantrez Walker, linebacker, committed to Colorado right now. I love him, man. He's number 8. He wears a big neck roll. I mean, he's a middle linebacker right there. He wants to strike you. He hit me up last night. He said, you going to be at the game? I said, I'm doing the game. He said, I'm going to put on the show. And I fully expect him to. He's a kid that play. I think a lot of people tonight are going to get their first chance to see Dayton Raiola, quarterback who's a younger brother of Dylan Raiola out at Nebraska. He's a starting quarterback for Buford, kind of making his own way. So you go down that list, a lot of guys. Tyreek Green is a young man that transferred to Buford this year. He's now playing tonight for Buford. This is a kid, the 2026 class that has offers from Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, all over the place. So we'll get a chance to watch him tonight. It's just one of those games, man. We could really spend an hour just on the rosters for both these teams.
Well, let's talk about Douglas County because I know they've got quite a few as well.
Mm-hmm. You look at Douglas County, and when you start with them, you look at the 26 class. So you look at the first guy there, Jordan Carter. He's the number 1 player in the state of Georgia in the class of 2026 for on 3. You look at Aaron Gregory. He's the number 4 player in the class for 2026. Oh, by the way, Devin Carter there, he's the number 7 player in the class. So they have 3 top 10 players in the state of Georgia for the class of 2026. All 3 of those guys have got every offer you could possibly get. James Johnson just recently committed to Southern Cal. Johnny White, you guys can talk to him. I guarantee he's going to bring up James Johnson. He coached Eric Berry at Creekside. He tells me, Rusty, this guy is just as good. He impacts the game. Unfortunately, you look at Joshua Sam Impelli right there. He's the 2027 tackle. He's 6'8". He just announced on Twitter a few minutes ago, kind of breaking news, he tore his ACL last week. He's done for the year, but he's a 2027, so he's got 2 more years. A 6'8" offensive tackle, sophomore. So he's got a long way to go, but his thoughts will be with him tonight. Will not get a chance to see him play tonight.
Yeah, and then that Michael Hasty.
Listen, when we saw him at Corky Kell, he made every play. Like, he's their guy. You want to talk about the guy kind of the raised a West Virginia commit? And I'm telling you, man, when you watch Hasty tonight, he is all over the place. He made a lot of tackles. I told Brandon Adams when we were doing the Corky Kell against Cedar Grove, I said, Hasty, West Virginia is probably not want this game on TV. And the amount of eyes is going to be on there tonight. I'm sure West Virginia's hoping your signal gets scrambled because.
Well, real quickly, Rusty, because we got to go to break.
Yeah.
What's the difference in this game, you think?
Turnovers. I think both teams are very physical. I think both teams want to run the football. I think it comes down to, we see it every single week, and Brandon Adams says it every week. Special teams in high school football matter. Every single long snap, extra point, it can go any way. Special teams very well could end up determine this game. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to be 4 quarters, and this is going to be as physical a football game as you'll see in high school football anywhere in the country.
All right, tell us how people can sign up for Dogs HQ.
They can go to dogshq.com and sign up right there. We got a promotional thing going on. We've had a great week, great month, and anywhere for On 3. We got Tennessee site, got Alabama site, Florida State site. You can do it all there for On 3.
Well, listen, Rusty, we appreciate it. We hope to have you on a lot.
Yeah, we look forward
to
it.
get in this host seat a little bit.
I'll
You're
tell
doing
you what,
everything
man.
else, radio and all that. All right, coming up, we've got Douglas County coach Johnny White. We'll talk to him about the game tonight.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConsultingCareers.com. Transform your future today. Powered by Local 85.
All right, Najeh Rosenberg here on Friday, Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. Also want to thank Randy Beal with GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com, as well as Steve Langley with Smart. They are the Smart Local. The unions really support us, and, of course, we support them. All right, want to bring in Douglas County coach Johnny White. Johnny, of course, rated very high in 6A this year. And Johnny, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Well,
Just hoping this weather holds off, but I'm doing well.
Yeah, y'all. I mean, assuming y'all expect a big crowd tonight, don't y'all?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big crowd. I think a lot of people want to see this game. So.
Yeah, well, we were there a couple years ago when y'all had that good football game with Hughes, and they had about 45 NFL prospects on that team. But things have flipped a little bit, Coach, and you have to feel pretty good about where you're headed. Semifinal appearance last year, played a really, really good football game against Woodward Academy. This year, undefeated. But tonight's special. I mean, you're playing Buford, and like Valdosta and some of these other traditional names like Marist, Buford's going to bring a lot to Douglas County.
Oh, Buford's going to definitely bring a lot. They have a great program, a great coaching staff. Those guys are used to winning, and that's important. When kids know how to win throughout any circumstance, that means a lot. I think our kids know how to win, and they know how to fight adversity, but, now you're going against one of the big dogs in the state. So I'm very excited and very happy to see how our kids respond to that tonight.
Talk a little bit about some of your offensive players. I mean, you have some kids that have offers from multiple schools. Really looking at your wide receivers, Devin Carter, Aaron Gregory, James Johnson, who's committed to Southern Cal, Braxton McCluster. I think it's Deidre. How do you pronounce it? Is it Dradarius Reading? Dradarius Reading. I mean, your wide receivers, that's about as good a group as in the state.
Yeah, we had a great group of wide receivers. What I like about them right now is they're very unselfish because a lot of the teams we've been playing lately have been, their main focus is making sure we can't get them the ball. So we've been doing a good job of running the football. I think the success of our team this year really, really boils down to our offensive line. Our offensive line and our quarterback have made some great decisions. Like, we may have pass plays called, but if they give us a light box, 5 in the box, then we're going to run the football. So I'm really excited about that. Of course, we want to get those guys the ball in space because all of them are special. But we're just going to continue to give what the defense gives us, have fun, and play football.
Yes, and Coach White, when you guys were playing in the bins earlier against Cedar Grove, it was the first quarter. You guys had 2 fourth-down situations, and without hesitation, you guys lined up, went for it, were able to run successfully. So you obviously have confidence in that offensive line group. So what has just impressed you with their overall effort and just ability to perform well in those crucial moments where you guys got to keep the chains moving?
Last year we started 5 sophomores on the offensive line. So all of them came back. So they're used to the fire. They're used to knowing how we play, and they want us to believe in them. So if it's 4th and short and they want to go for it, then I have enough confidence in them to say, let's go. Of course, sometimes I got to overrule them, but if they're getting the job, then I'm going to continue to let them be the dictators of what we do on 4th down.
Johnny, talk a little bit about how you've built this program. You've really done a great job of taking Douglas County to the next level. But talk about some of the things that you've done. I know you got some good people there, but talk about how you've done this and done it very quickly.
Well, I won't say it quickly now. This is year 9, so we've been working. I think the main thing is the administration. The principal that hired me, Andre Weaver, was a big sports person. And then 4 years ago, they brought in a new principal, Ms. Kenya Parks. And she's the same way, very energetic, very supportive of what we do. So it puts us in the right situation. I think the main thing for Douglas County, not just Douglas County High School, but Douglas County as a whole, is that there's always been athletes here, but a lot of times they chose to leave the county. So our big emphasis is to keep those guys at home. We can just surround our county and keep our guys in county, and I think we have a shot to play with anybody. And our staff is great, from my coordinators, my strength and conditioning coach, everybody on staff has a say-so, and they work their butts off. So I'm very excited on how we do everything here. Are we perfect? Heck no. Do we make mistakes? Of course. But we're gonna do this together. We're gonna humble ourselves. Our saying is to humble ourselves, to uplift ourselves, and outwork yesterday. So if we do that every day, I think we got a shot to play football against a lot of good teams in the state.
And Coach White, I want to ask you about, you were talking about your team not being selfish players. I think a perfect example, I was on the sideline for it, was against Cedar Grove. You guys had some calls that I didn't see the block in the backs. Typically a player, if you have a nice touchdown run, it gets called back, you're going to be a little upset about it. Your team would get right back up to the line of scrimmage, score again, another questionable call, and it was almost like, how many times do we have to score to score? But, like, for your players to not get disappointed when they personally have a big highlight taken away, to line back up and do it again, is that sort of the unselfishness that you've seen with your guys?
Well, that's what we preach. And we also preach control the controller. You know, we can, and then what I also let them know is that what most fans don't believe is that officials are human. And sometimes they're going to make mistakes just like we make mistakes. So I'm not going to go down on, I'm just going to play football. I'm going to line up, control what I can control, and let's play football.
John, you got a pregame ritual that you follow on Fridays?
I try to disappear, believe it or not. We have pregame meal. I pray with the team, and usually that's around 4:15, 4:30, and I'll disappear at about 6:30. I usually go sit in the library. My daughter's a sophomore at Hampton University. That's our time to talk. She's a big sports fan as well. She wants to know, am I ready and all that. So I talk to her, talk to my wife, call some of my friends back home in Virginia Beach. It's time just to get away.
Tell us about Buford. They come over there. They've lost a game this season, but they got beat by a very good team in Milton. But tell us what strengths you see in Buford.
Well, let me reiterate. I don't think they lost to a good team in Buford. In Milton. I think they lost to one of the best teams in the country in Milton. That game was 13-10. Coach Reeves does a good job. Coach Appling does a great job. This is a hard-nosed football team. They're gonna give you a plethora of formations. They're gonna give you a whole lot of stuff. But the bottom line is they're gonna run the football and they're gonna play action pass. Got great skill guys on defense. Their front seven. I think they run a 3-4, and I think all four linebackers are committed to the Power Four universities. Their two DNs are 4-star guys. So I tell my kids, if you want a chance to play at that level, then you got to play against that type of talent. So a lot of our linemen, they're juniors now. They're still looking for those offers. So they want to be able to put on the tape after tonight's game and show that they can play against Power Four type talent.
We're wrapping up with Johnny White, the coach at Douglas County. We've got the game tonight on PSN with Buford traveling over to Douglas County. Real quickly, Coach. I had a good question for you. I'm 60 years old now, so sometimes I have to rethink some of the things I'm going to ask. But you have to be excited about being on TV tonight. I know that you guys are going to get a tremendous amount of exposure.
Yeah, we like being on television. We like the exposure. We're glad that y'all came. We hope we give a good show tonight. Show off our facilities, show off our athleticism, but also show off our sportsmanship as well. I think our kids are disciplined. I think our kids play hard because they play for each other, and we'll let the scoreboard take care of itself.
Well, listen, Johnny, we wish you the best of luck. We'll see you in a couple of hours. Have a good day, okay?
All right, thank you. God bless.
Thanks. Johnny White, the head coach at Douglas County, and we've got them tonight at 8 o'clock on PSN. All right, IJ Rosenberg, welcome back to our Score Atlanta studios here in Roswell, up in North Atlanta. This is the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. Craig Sager with us, as well as Najeh Wilkins. And we'll get to our selections, our statewide selections, some good games tonight. Tonight, Craig's a good one, and we'll bring in Najeh on this. So we'll start with Douglas County and Buford, all right? And, Craig, I'm going to let you sort of start on that one.
So I'm going to pick Douglas County, and what I saw for them in the Hughes matchup, it's so important within a football game. It's like when you are in a dogfight, when you need that big moment, I think Douglas County has the players that can just step up and make a play, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball or offense, and that comes with the star power, the experience, but also the unselfishness, knowing that can be anyone that can step up. I think they're a better team at potentially playing from behind, and I think Douglas County is going to be able to handle the moment.
Najeh, what do you think, Douglas County or Buford?
I'm going with Buford. I know this is not the popular pick. Hopefully I'll end up on a headline with Coach Durosteen at Douglas County. I've known a couple with not picking them, so but I'm going with Buford. I think Dayton Rio is going to take that step forward tonight, and I think they have the defense in order to contend and compete and make this a close, tight-knit game. IJ, I already know who you're rolling with.
Well, I love both coaches. I love Johnny White. Appling at Buford has become a friend as well. I'm going to go with Douglas County, and I'll tell you why. I feel like high schools that are not traditional powers have to make a deep playoff run before they turn that corner and really have a chance to win a state championship. And I think Douglas last year is a good example. They played Woodward Academy in the semifinals. They should have won that football game. Inexperience, both on the field and probably the coaching staff, probably lost them that game. All right, it was a great football game, and Woodward made it. I don't want to take anything away from Woodward Academy, but I think Douglas is here. I really do. And I agree with Johnny White. Milton is a great football team. They lost 13-10 to a great football team. But they've got to go over to Douglas County, and I just feel like tonight that Douglas is going to really turn it on. I think it's going to be a real close game, but I'm going to go with Douglas County.
I agree, and I think you're talking about them having like their moment. I don't think Douglas County is scared of Buford. I know it's Buford. I know they're mighty, but you saw how they responded in the second half to Hughes. They've played outstanding competition. They're going to be ready for it. It's going to be physical. I think they're going to have a good performance.
All right, let's go to the next game, Gainesville at Carrollton. Really a very, very good 5A match. 5A Gainesville playing at Carrollton. Of course, Juju, the quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Najeh, we'll let you start on this one. Gainesville or Carrollton?
Yeah, for me, it's hard to believe this game is not on TV. Like, this is such a good game. I mean, you got strength against strength. Carrollton's great offensive line against one of the better defensive fronts we have in the state of Georgia, led by Xavier Griffin and Julius Columbus. I got some underrated guys. I got a chance to see Gainesville this past week. Judah Knight, Trent Jones, I should say. But I really like their quarterback. I think that's the difference in this game. Kareem Hughley, how does he step up on this big stage? We see what he did a couple weeks ago on Westlake. And that big performance he had, how will it look tonight? And I think they got one of the most underrated receiving corps in the state with Shane King, Jeremiah Ware, and then Christopher Tass-Smith. I'm going with Gainesville.
Craig, this is the last away game before Gainesville finally returns home. Coach Niblet has never lost in the regular season. I think Gainesville's just so persistent. And then Tad Smith, he is a guy that can spark that big play. We saw what he did to Westlake. I'm going with Gainesville.
Guys, they're playing the game at Carrollton. All right, you got Juju at quarterback for Carrollton. I'm going to go with Carrollton, and I'll tell you why. I like Gainesville a lot. I think they're an excellent football team. I think Coach Nesbitt's one of the best. I know he hasn't lost. But I also know how difficult it is to go to Carrollton and win. It's a special place. It really is. I remember when my son was at Centennial and I was president of the quarterback club, and we made the decision that we wanted to pick a 2-year series with somebody that probably was going to beat us up at Centennial, but where the kids could go and really see what tradition was, and that was Carrollton. So I'm going to go with Carrollton. We've got 2 going with Gainesville. We'll see who's right. in about 7-8 hours. All right, 4A, good one. We've got Kell traveling all the way down to Lowndes. Craig, you want to start that one?
I think this is a really tough matchup for Kell in this one. Lowndes is going to try to make them one-dimensional offensively. I think we mentioned Mooney Gibson, Kell's sophomore running back. He's been outstanding, but does Coach Bobby May, does he want to give him 25 carries in a non-region game when they still have a big matchup against BT? I think Lowndes is going to jump on them early and potentially win this one big.
Najee, what do you think?
Yes, sir. My thing is for Kell, like you said, Craig, they can't be one-dimensional. Get the ball to Brandon Ross and Jaden George. Both of those guys are great in the open field when they get the ball in their hands if you want to have a chance at this game. But I'm going with Lowndes. Aline Brown is one to watch here. The big night we talked about a couple days ago on our Georgia High School Sports Daily. I think he's going to have a big night and run free for the Lowndes.
All right, I'm going to go against both of you again. I'm going to go with Kell. This is why. Kell is one of the very few non-top classification teams that always plays well against the bigger schools. I mean, you look at their history at Corky Kell, it's amazing. So I think it's a long drive down there. You know what? North Gwinnett had a long drive a couple of weeks ago. They beat Colquitt County. I don't know how good a team this Lowndes. I know they've got some really good players. I'm going to go with Kell in this one. Next one is another fabulous matchup and one that we actually looked at pretty hard for television. That's Jefferson at North Oconee. Najee?
Yes, sir. I'm going North Oconee. I like Red Hip Hill. I like their quarterback, Grant Marquez at Jefferson, but I think North Oconee is a team that's destined to make a deep playoff run this year on their head coach, Tyler Art. And I like Kamari Brooks, Harrison Faulkner, and obviously Landon Roldan. I'm going with the Titans.
Yeah, and these coaches are very familiar with each other because Coach Arndt was talking about it. Coach Travis Nolan, where was he before Jefferson? Oconee County. So they've played a lot of games together. I think it's going to come down to coaching. Harrison Faulkner's been outstanding at quarterback. I'm going with North Oconee also.
Yeah, I'm going to go with North Oconee. I think the home field advantage really, either way, I think if they were playing at Jefferson, I would pick Jefferson. But I think playing at North Oconee, of course, Craig, you've got them number one. I think it's going to be difficult on Jefferson. I see North Oconee not only winning this game, but I see them winning it by more than a touchdown. All right, down to 2A, New Hampstead at Pierce County. Craig?
Yeah, this is a really tough matchup for Pierce County. He was talking about Rashawn Truell, New Hampstead's quarterback. He had one of the best seasons we saw in the state last year. They've gotten off to a little slow start. I was somewhat surprised. Pierce County, they're going to have to play players two ways. It's going to be really tough, but I'm taking Pierce County. I think they're just too relentless, physical, and they live and breathe football.
Najee?
2 words, Caden McGatha. That's all I'm going to say. Pierce County comes out big.
Yeah, I agree. Pierce County state champion. We talked to the coach a couple of days ago. I like this team, and I'm going to go with Pierce County. I agree with both you guys. All right, Class A Division I. We'll end it with this one. Fannin County at Coosa. Najee?
Fannin County, one name you need to know, Lawson Sullivan, 435 yards passing, 437 yards rushing. He has a total of 10 touchdowns this year. I'm going with Fannin County with the win.
Craig?
Yep, going with the Rebels too. They are cracking the top 5 most of the polls now. One of the surprise teams so far. I think they win big.
I don't know a whole lot about both these teams. So I'm going to go with Fannin County on this one. Let's real quickly just, tonight everybody will be on. Make sure you tune in to scoreatl.com and ajc.com. We'll have the full scoreboard. We do all the live scores. Craig, Najee, we have so many people that really do a great job with all of that. So make sure to check in scoreatl.com. Coming up, we'll wrap the show up, but we'll also do our What's the Score? And remember, tonight, 8 o'clock on PSN, Douglas County hosting Buford. All right, welcome back to the last segment of the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. We finished our second week, and we always hit What's the Score? That's our segment today. We've got a lot of things, a lot of interesting notes coming up. First one, Daily Dive, you can check out on scoreatl.com. Max did a fabulous job. He talks about the undefeated showdown between Milton and BT. And as Craig just pointed out to me, 2 weeks ago, BT beat a state champion when they went to Prince Avenue. This might be a different story, Craig. Let's bring Najeh on as well. Now they've got to play Milton, and Milton's not really. I mean, they're probably the best team in the state. They're one of the top teams in the country.
100%. And Coach Dudley, when he made this schedule, it is a crazy stretch for them. So Prince Avenue Christian, Milton, they're going to play Savannah Christian next, and then they've got
we've got that game on TV.
And then they've got Hebron Christian. So not only just the most talented teams, well coached, it's going to be really tough for them. But I do think you look at Blessed Trinity's defense, it's been unbelievable this season. They're allowing just about like 120 yards passing, under 100 rushing. And so this will be a game where Luke Nichols is going to have to make really smart decisions. I do think they've got the edge in terms of mismatches. BT strengths on the defensive line, but in the secondary, it's going to be really hard to guard guys like C.J. Wiley. And then Ethan Barber, he was on that Touchdown Club All-State preseason list. I think he's a huge mismatch at that tight end position.
Najee, you think any way Najee BT has a shot in this one?
Yeah, I think it's to Craig's point. It got to be the defensive line. DJ Jacobs has to have one of them game record games, like being able to come off the edge and create pressure, a couple turnovers for them. But what I like about Milton this year, they can run the ball. They ran it last year, but TJ Lester's coming into his own. Very underrated prospect for the Eagles. He's having a fabulous year. I think over 350-plus yards rushing so far. But for BT, I mean, you got to put the ball in Brooks Guzman's hand. Let him cook with Bryce Lewis and also some of those weapons they got on the outside.
You're right. And then I will say BT is one of the best kickers, Noah Goddard. I didn't realize he tore his meniscus wakeboarding before the season, and then he came back and had the great game against Prince Avenue Christian. So if BT's able to, get in field goal range, he's got a huge leg, and that was the difference in the last game.
Well, certainly.
Quickly, Najeh.
Yeah.
I just want to say this about BT. I do like what Ed Dudley's doing, scheduling such a treacherous schedule like this, because it's going to only prepare them for when they go into region play and then even potentially the playoffs.
Yeah, and it also gives both teams to play a lot of players, okay? Because the game doesn't, it counts, but it doesn't count. So it'll be interesting to see, and I certainly wish T.J. Lester the best. I was very close to his dad, who he lost too soon. We also have in our daily dive, Clint Castleberry was one of the inaugural inductees of the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Seth did a really good piece on Clint. And, Clint played back in, 1913. So he's been around, or was around, a long time ago. But we did have high school football back then. Of course, Clint went on to Georgia Tech and was just a tremendous football player. But even more so, what he did in the war, lost his life in the war, and just a tremendous man. If you go to Grant Field, I like to call it Grant Field because I grew up there, but Bobby Dodd Stadium, but you'll see Clint's name in big letters up there. So check that out, Seth's Daily Dive on ScoreATL.com. We also have Hayden, who we could talk a little bit about this, did a daily dive on 5 of the state's best under-the-radar players. Let's throw them out there real quick. Paul Bowling, offensive tackle from McEachin. He committed to Troy. Julius Columbus, defensive lineman from Gainesville, committed to Duke. Andre Fuller, edge. Grayson, committed to Georgia Tech. James Johnson, an athlete, Douglas County, committed to USC. And Jalen Shivers, another edge, South Gwinnett, committed to SMU. Najee, you want to talk a little bit about Andre Fuller, the edge from Grayson, who is committed to Georgia Tech?
Yeah, he's very impressive, IJ. Really good speed off the edge, uses his hands well. Just a beast in the backfield. They're getting a really good guy. And a thing that people don't know about Georgia Tech recruiting, they're going to lose a lot of guys off the defensive line. Zeke Biggers is not going to be there next year. Romello Heights, I think, is a redshirt junior, so he only has one more year. It's going to be a lot of spots open for true freshmen. And Andre Fuller, if he comes in and has a good camp in the spring, he could potentially push for starting playing time next year.
And then, Najee, you cover Georgia Tech recruiting. Tell me how they're doing it, because we're seeing a lot more Georgia Tech showing up with the top players in the state. 2-3 years ago, you never saw Georgia Tech get a 4-star or even be in the hunt for a 5-star. But what's changed at Georgia Tech where the recruiting, where they're not going to catch up with Georgia, but they are starting to close the distance a little bit?
As being more and more active, more often, being able to go to these campuses, flying out and going to go see these kids. And I give you another one, Isaiah, it's partnered with great brands like yourself and the Corky Kale, being able to see these kids on their campus for 7-on-7s and being able to see these kids play and be able to offer them on the spot. That's definitely helped them out a lot. And I think Coach Key just really has certain players and the characters that he's looking for that program. And then they have that skill like, hey, you can come to the school 40 years later, you can still use the degree in order to do what you need to do. And they have Fortune 500 people, CEOs, top executives. And when you have that outside of football too, IJ, that really, permeates and really, makes you feel good as a recruit.
Well, we do our 7-on-7 down there every summer. We had 102 teams, so that's, pretty impressive. Craig, James Johnson, some of the other players
Oh,
that
yeah.
you like looking
Well,
at?
James Johnson, we'll get to see him tonight. Very versatile piece. He can do it all. He'll play that role offensively for Douglas County where he can take a carry, he can go in the Wildcat, he can take a quick screen. So he's one of the many pieces that Douglas County has. I actually have an unrelated question for Najee on a game we haven't talked about. Real quick, East Paulding and Rome. What stands out about that matchup to you? How do you think Rome's going to respond after that tough Toombs County loss?
What is Rome's response after that, as you said, Craig? Can they do anything outside of Jaden Harmon offensively? Can they throw the ball? That's my biggest question for them. And can they slow down the rushing attack of Javin Parker, who's having a great season for East Paulding, and Chance Booknight, the quarterback?
All right, Najee, Craig, thank you. Don't forget about our Hall of Fame. It's coming up on August 26th, the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame in our third year. You can grab tickets there, scan that QR code. Well, we got through our second week. Najee, I want to thank you. Craig, want to thank you. Also want to thank Fritz, who's been running the board for us, as well as Graham David and Ashley Carey, who both Graham produced. Graham does a lot around here, but he produces a lot. All right, we'll see you, everybody. Have a good game tonight.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.